Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you back to the second session for today. And I also welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Amar Kumar Mishra, sir. Welcome to these FDP, sir. And before starting with anything, I would like to give a brief introduction on sir's profile. So, Dr. Amar Kumar Mishra has done PhD in HR, MBA, MCom from the University of Burdwan, West Bengal. Besides, he has qualified UGC NET in Management, Commerce and HR. Dr. Mishra has got experience of more than 17 years in academics. At present, Sir is rendering his services to Graphic Era University, Dehradun, as professor in OB and HR. Sir has published more than 50 papers in various journals and conferences, including 17 papers in Scopus, WOS listed ABDC journals. An expert in SPSS and EMOS, Dr. Mishra has conducted more than 2 dozen workshops on research methodology in various colleges like Punjabi University, Patiala, College of Engineering, Roorkee, Institute of Management Study, Ghaziabad, Lucknow Central University, Lucknow, Graphic Era University, Dehradun, Association for Research Advanced Studies, Ludhiana, Coimbatore, Kovilpatti, Tamil Nadu, GL Bajaj Institute, Noida, to name a few. Besides, he has also conducted 2 MDP on leadership and change at Petronet LNG, Dahej, Gujarat. And it's a honor that you're part of the session, sir. Welcome you again, and over to you.
So this was the formal. Ma'am, please mute. So this was the formal welcome address for Dr. Amar Kumar Mishra. But on a personal note, also I would like to invite Dr. Mishra. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
Okay.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So on a personal note, I would like to invite him because uh, we worked together for around 7 years. We were colleagues working together. And I could still recall my first day of meeting with him when I found a person who is full of knowledge, but at the same time down to earth with lots of humility also. And we should appreciate that despite having a marriage ceremony going on at his home, only to fulfill his commitment, he is here with us. And it's really honor and pleasure. Apart from being a great statistician and researcher, he is also the master of OB and HR, psychology, history, to name a few. You talk to him on any topic and he is there to give you a lot of knowledge, a lot of insights on those topics. So particularly those who have joined this session for research methods and are from the domain of OB and HR may get in touch with him to get a lot of insights. So once again, I thank you, sir, for coming here, and uh, I know that you will be enlightening our audience with lots of knowledge in the next 90 minutes. Though I know that it's short of time, but I'm sure that people are going to learn a lot from you. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Vishal, sir. Thank you very much. And before I begin, there are two customary questions that I will ask. First, whether I am audible or not. And second, my screen is visible or not.
Sir, you are very much visible and you are very much audible also.
Okay, and my screen?
It is also visible, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. So before I begin, actually, my audibility will be a little bit of concern to me because as Vishal told that this marriage of my sister is going on and today there is a ceremony. So Mehendi, so I am sitting on the roof and on personal note, thank you very much, Dr. Vishal Shukla. And in between, I will speak about Vishal Shukla, sir, too often. And whenever there will be any problem of connectivity because I'm sitting on the roof or on audibility or visibility, please let me know so that I can rectify or I can adjust myself. Okay, since the topic that has been given to me is SEM, structure question modeling, and you people are attending these sessions 3 days a week, sorry, 3 times a week, and also it is the third day, so you must be a little bit tired, but I hope you are enjoying these sessions with persons. I know the galaxy of people which Dr. Vishal Shukla can manage, so there is no doubt on each all these skills. So before wasting the time, because really the topic structure equation modeling, little bit fascinated topic and little bit complicated. I will not say complicated. It's all the state of your mind that what is complicated or what is simple. But yeah, the time is a little bit constrained. But I will also say that there are positive and negative both sides of this time constraint. On the negative part, yes, we cannot discuss so many things that we want to discuss. There will be some questions that will remain in your mind. On the positive part, it's good that you are getting so many things. I really, kudos to the convener and the entire team of the Presidency University who have brought about so many people and who have also organized this FDP on so many topics. Because if you can master only one topic, only one, even if you are master of discriminant analysis or only factor analysis or only same or only regression or only conjoint, then the purpose will be solved. So it's good that you are getting insight of all those things. It's akin to like that student who has taken admission in MBA, and in the first year he is getting a knowledge of all the subjects, so that in the second year he can decide the area in which he has the strength, he has the interest, and he can develop a specialization in that area. So he will have a knowledge of all the subjects, but he will specialize in one area: marketing, finance, HR, or operations. So similarly, it's good, and that's why I said that instead of learning only same for 5 days or only regression for 5 days, the conjoint for 5 days, it's good that the convener has done such a beautiful job that they are giving the knowledge of everything, and so that the area in which you want to master, because you don't need to master all the areas, you have to master only one area, and you can get your purpose solved. So when I said the purpose, then why this FDP? So there are few people, only few people who attend this FDP because they may get some API score. There are few people who want to build the network, so they join the different FDP, they go different where. There are few people who have to join it because of some compulsions that they are getting the grant from the university, so let's attend a 1 week or 2 week FDP. But these are the outliers. In the recent times, when so many FDPs on the virtual mode are happening, then most of the people join the FDP only for two purposes. One purpose, that they are the scholars and they want to get their doctorate, so they want to learn the different tools and techniques which are contemporary. And second, those people who are already in job, but they want to get their published and Scopus listed or indexed or ABDC listed journals. So my thrust will be for those people. My sincere apology for the outliers, and my thrust for this 90 minutes will be for those people who want to write the papers or who want to complete their PhD using this specific technique or any specific technique. Before I begin, so I should not waste the time because there is time is a constant. So the topic that has been given to me is structural equation modeling. And before I begin, there are 4 things which in SEM. Why SEM? What is SEM? When to use SEM and how to use structural equation modeling. Why should we learn structural equation modeling? What is structural equation modeling? So there are 2 things, because I know that in the previous session also you have learned the CFA, you have learned the AMOS, you have learned the EFA. In the next session also you will learn some advanced technique, mediation, moderation, etc. So let me talk on some intangible part, and then I will talk about the tangible part, that why should we learn structural equation modeling. So normally I don't like to talk about myself because this is a wastage of time in a short duration content, but this is necessary, that why we are learning structural equation modeling. So as Vishal sir said, that we are known to each other for the past 7-8 years, and when Vishal sir joined the college where I was teaching. So I was having this subject research methodology, which had to be handed over to Vishal sir, because he had really, he is, I can say, I mean, the king of this area. And I really feel that it's unfortunate that because of his so many obligations, he cannot take a proper session for you people. So, but I hope that next time, I mean, you will get an opportunity to really listen to him on those topics. Um, so let me tell you, my brief profile has been sold, and but why I am saying is for some other reasons, because why we are learning structural equation modeling. Okay, I have got two master's degree from a government university. I have got a PhD from a state university. I have qualified UGC NET in 3 subjects, management, commerce, HR, and okay, I am a little bit knowledge of stats or OB and something like that. It's okay. So 4 years ago, my teaching experience is sort of
Sir,
17 years.
kindly unmute your audio, sir.
Uh, okay, I think I'm unmuted. Okay, so 4 years ago, or say around 3.5 years ago, to be precise, I went to a college, and I will not name the name of the college, that is not important, for the job of a faculty position. After having an experience of 14 years and 2 master degree from State University, 3 NET qualification, 1 PhD, and around 30 publications, sort of like that. And the first question, I mean, after the introduce yourself part, the second question was asked me that, how many papers do you have? And my response was, sir, around 30 papers. Then the interviewer asked me that, how many papers are Scopus indexed? I literally did not have any idea about what Scopus is. I used to write papers, and I was fortunate or unfortunate in any case that the time when we were doing the PhD, we were not having that compulsion that we have to got 2 papers published in Scopus listed journals. So I did not know what is Scopus and what is ABDC. So I expressed my ignorance that I really do not know. And suddenly I was rejected, of course. So when I came back to home and um, I spent around 4 to 5 days pondering about that all my 2 master degree, 1 PhD, 3 NET, and 13 years of experience and 30 papers are of no use in the contemporary world, in the contemporary HEI, higher education institutions. And I got to know that what is Scopus, it's indexing, it's a listing or something like that. And I was in a state of breakdown, and I still remember that I used to ask people that if you are writing a paper in Scopus, then please give my name, whether as the 4th author or the 5th author, but just give me a name because I want to secure my job. And in this 3 years, somehow I have got to publish 18 papers in Scopus, all the Scopus. And that's why and out of the 18 papers, in 16 papers, I have used structural equation modeling. So this is one of the reasons that why SEM is necessary. So the time when we were doing the MBA, the time when we were doing, there was, when we joined the institutions as faculty, there was, I mean, the demand for the faculty was more and the supply was less. After LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization, there was mushrooming of institutions, and most of the people like to, I mean, they wanted to go to corporate. Only few people wanted to come to institutions, so there was demand for the faculties. So if you are having a master degree, I still remember that when I joined as a faculty, I was just having a master degree in MCOM and MBA, and I had not even registered for PhD. Now the situation is different. In nowadays, the supply is more and the demand is less because most of the colleges have been shut down. Some of the colleges are not even paying the full salary. Some of the colleges are paying salary not at a regular interval of time. And in the past 1.5 years, though, and the situation has worsened. So, I mean, the supply of the faculties are more. People from the corporates wants to join the academics. I mean, everybody who passes the master degree get enrolled for the PhD. The NET has also become relatively easy nowadays. Then when Dr. Vishal had cleared the UGC NET and etc. So the supply of the people is more and the demand is less. And so the bargaining power is in the hand of the interviewer. And this paper, I mean, is used as a rejection criteria, may not be as a selection criteria, that if you don't have the paper in Scopus, then you are not eligible, whatever your qualification is. So the focus will be on writing the papers. So my entire focus for this 90 minutes or whatever minute is there will be on how to write a paper so that you can become employable in the HEIs, institutions of higher education. Um, so, so this is the why part, that why STEM is necessary, because we have to write a paper. So is it only same? No, definitely not. There are different techniques with which you can use this. But since I am taking this session, so I will be focusing on what I have done based on my experience, and I will be talking about the success rate that is given by STEM. So let's begin. Suppose you want to write a paper, definitely we all are attending the FDP, apart from some other reasons that we want to write the papers. Either we are doing the PhD or we are already doctorate, but we want to get our paper published in Scopus, indexed, or ABDC listed journals. So, so we can take any topic, right? Now, when we do the research, then there are basically two reasons. One is that we want to get into the skin of the character. We just want to know more and more about that thing. I mean, if you know that we know what is commitment, then we want to know what is organizational commitment, what is effective commitment, what is normative commitment, what is continuous commitment, how it is affecting in the, I mean, how, what is its role in the FMCG sector, what is its role in the academic sector, what is its role in the banking or insurance sector. So there are so many things, I mean, in which we just want to get deep and deep into that topic. So suppose we have taken one simple topic, and we have taken the topic that the study of economic stress among the entrepreneurs. So right now, I mean, for the past 1.5 when the entire country is reeling under this lockdown and the curfews and all those things. So there are a few people who had just started their entrepreneurship. Now they are feeling the heat and they want to change their profession. They also want to join the academics, or they want to start preparing for, say, banking or any other examinations. So we can study the economic stress among the entrepreneur, or we can study the study of withdrawal intentions among the entrepreneurs that they want to withdraw. So we can make a questionnaire, and we can adopt a questionnaire, we can adapt a questionnaire. We will go and meet some people who had started their entrepreneurship recently, and they are feeling the stress. So we can measure their stress, and we can write a very good research paper, or why they want to leave their job, or in any topic. So for example, we want to study what is the financial literacy among the people, or the women in the rural area. So we can go deep and deep inside that topic, that we can study the financial literacy among the people. We can study the financial literacy among the women. We can study the financial study or financial literacy among the rural women. We can study the financial literacy among the working women in the rural area. So we can go deep and deep inside that topic. But whatever path we will take, it will remain a univariate analysis. So there is only one variable. You are studying only the financial literacy. Say you are from the field of HR, and you want to study a study of organization or job stress among the faculties working in private institutions. So the variable is only one, stress. So you can write beautiful research, you can do beautiful research, but the moment you will present, I mean, you will apply, submit this paper in a journal, reputed journal, say so-called Scopus or ABDC journals, then the probability of getting it selected will be very, very less, because the univariate analysis is not preferred too much in those reputed journals. So you are a person of marketing, and you want to study on the electronic word of mouth, a study of electronic word of mouth among the youngsters. So still it's a univariate analysis. So you can do the univariate analysis, you can write the paper, but the probability of getting it success or is very, very less. What we can do is that we can combine these two topics. We can study the impact of economic on the withdrawal intentions. So there are two variables. Instead of writing a paper on them separately, we can combine these things. So for example, impact of electronic word of mouth on the purchase intention among the youngsters. Impact of job stress on organizational commitment among the faculty members in private institutions. So instead of writing a univariate analysis, we will do the bivariate analysis, so that the power of the analysis will be a little bit more. But still, the probability of getting it selected in a reputed journal will be, again, there will be a little bit low. So whenever there are two variables, first of all, we will not go with one variable only. So for example, we will not go with a univariate theme. So for example, electronic word of mouth or a study of brand awareness or a study of purchase intention. What we can do is that we can combine these two topics, that impact of electronic word of mouth on the brand awareness. So is there any impact of the on brand awareness of the electronic word of mouth? Or we can rate what is the impact of electronic word of mouth on purchase intention of say some consumer goods or some durable goods or some say luxury goods or whatever sector take. Or we can study the impact of brand awareness on purchase intention. Is it there that a brand which has got more awareness, the people have the more tendency to purchase that brand? So we can go for the bivariate analysis. Now, the moment we are going for the bivariate analysis, the moment we are thinking about two variables, then there are few questions that we have to ask. Are these two variables associated? Is there any relationship between brand awareness and purchase intention? Is there any impact relationship between the job stress and the organizational commitment? Is there any relationship between financial literacy and investment decision? So first question that we have to check is that are these two variables related? Now, if they are related, now whether they are related or not, who will decide? So this will be decided by the literature review. Now, if we find that, okay, there are instances that these two variables that we have taken for study, I mean, there are instances that they have been studied, the literature support this association, then we have to check that what is the direction of this relationship. So the direction of relationship means that whether they are going in the positive direction or whether they are going in the negative direction. Third question is that what is the degree of relationship between these variables? So the degree of association means that like for example, the impact of electronic word of mouth on brand awareness is more, or the impact of brand awareness on purchase intention is more, or the impact of electronic word of mouth on purchase intention is more. So what is the degree of relationship? So for that we can do the correlation analysis, or we can do the say chi-square test, right? So we can go for the bivariate data, bivariate analysis. And I have seen on the very first day, I joined the inaugural session, and I also, attended the Vishal sir session, because I normally, whenever I get the time, I never miss a session. So he had very beautifully explained all these things, that what are the measurement that you are doing, whether it is nominal, ordinal, interval, and that will decide about the test that we are conducting. So in a layman language, if you are using the scale data, then we can use the correlation, simply Karl-Pearson correlation. If you are using the ordinal data, then we can go for the Spearman or Tau or whatever correlation. If you are using the nominal data, then we can go for the chi-square test. So it depends upon so many things. I will not, because sir has already beautifully explained all those things. Now, if there,
Excuse me, sir.
whatever be, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, we want to see this screen, the presentation screen.
Okay. I thought it is visible.
Sir, actually, your entire screen has been shared.
No,
I
issue,
mean,
is
the
it visible
window,
now?
right? Hanji, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So we were talking about that we can take a univariate analysis, the study of electronic word of mouth or brand awareness or purchase intention.
Sir, a bit slow is required, sir. Sir, a bit
Okay,
slow.
sir. Oh, right. So thank you. This feedback is required. Thank you, sir. So whenever the screen is not visible, please let me know so that I can make it visible. Right. So we can go for the bivariate analysis. In the bivariate analysis, we study the relationship between two variables. We check whether these two variables are related or not. Whether these variables are related or not, that will be decided by literature review. Next thing we say is that what is the direction of the relationship, whether they are positively related or they are negatively related. Third thing we will check is that what is the degree of relationship with the help of correlation or chi-square test, depending upon the measurement and scaling that you are using. Fourth is that what is the nature of relationship. So nature of relationship means that we will check that if one variable is so if we are increasing the electronic word of mouth, then what will be its impact on the purchase intention or the brand awareness. So if there is a relationship between demand and price, or price and demand, and we know that the direction is negative, price and demand are negatively inversely related, and the degree of relationship depends on the elasticity of demand. It could be 0.1, 0.2, 0.5, something like that. Then we would like to answer this question that if we increase the price of a product, then what will be its impact on the demand for that product? So that is a subject matter of regression. So far as we are doing the correlation and regression, bivariate analysis is good. But like I told you that, okay, the bivariate analysis has more power than the univariate analysis, but still the probability of getting it selected is less. I'm not saying that there is no probability. I'm saying that the probability is less. What we can go is that we want to that how this relationship is working. Is the electronic word of mouth has a direct impact on the purchase intention, or there is some indirect effect? So for example, if there's more electronic word of mouth through Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, then maybe there will be more brand awareness. And the more there will be awareness of the brand, so the more will be the intention of the people to purchase those product. Similarly, the more is there any like we want to study the financial literacy. We want to check whether there is the impact of financial literacy on investment decision, but we want to give it another dimension. We want to check that whether the financial literacy itself is enough to explain the investment decision, or whether the financial literacy leads to the knowledge of the risk, that you know that what is the risk in the market, what is the return in the market, and that risk perception or return expectation have an impact on the investment decision. So how this relationship is working, that is the subject matter of mediation. When we discuss the question among two variables in the presence of a third variable, how this relationship is working. So electronic word of mouth, let me take a diagram. The electronic word of mouth is having an impact on brand awareness. So I don't know about the a product that has been launched, but if I'm using the Facebook, Twitter, etc., then maybe I will get to know about that product. And this awareness will have an impact on my purchase intention. So when we explain the relationship between two variables in the presence of third variable, that how this relationship is working, what is the mechanism, then basically this becomes a multivariate analysis, or this becomes a subject matter of your structure equation modeling, CFA, or whatever, mediation. So this is a multivariate analysis. So the moment you move from univariate to bivariate, from bivariate to multivariate, not only that you get a more knowledge about the subject, but also the probability of getting it success in a paper will be more. Now there is another way in which we can go for the multivariate. So for example, the impact of electronic word of mouth on purchase intention, is it the same for the youngsters and the old people? Maybe the youngsters will have more fascination. So the moment they are getting some electronic word of mouth, so the strength of their intention is increasing. But for the old people like me, there is not such impact. I just want to work on the old tried and tested model. So when we discuss about that, when this relationship is working and when this relationship is not working, what is the boundary conditions? So for example, we know that if we counsel, there will be an impact on his or her stress level. But is this relationship the same for the boys and the girls? So when we want to discuss the relationship between two variables, but we want to check whether this relationship is different for different product or different gender for different demographic part, then this becomes a question of moderation. So this is also a multivariate analysis. So let me show in this way that we can study economic stress, we can study the withdrawal intention, that people want to leave their job. Now this is a univariate analysis. If we combine these two topics, that impact of stress on withdrawal intention, then this becomes a bivariate analysis. When we explain this bivariate analysis in the presence of a third variable, which explains that how this is happening, so the economic stress is having an impact on, when there is stress, then people are getting depressed, and when they're getting depressed, then they want to leave the job. So when we explain the relationship between this stress and withdrawal in the presence of a third variable, that how this is happening, then this becomes a matter of mediation or multivariate analysis. We can also explain this that, okay, when there is economic stress, that then people want to leave the job. So the moment this curfew or this corona or all these things have happened, there are so many people who want to leave their entrepreneurship job and they want to try for the job. They think that at least some salary will be secured. But is it the same for the North Indian and the South Indian? Is it the same for a people who belong to the business class? Like, for example, I don't want to be stereotyped, but normally we say that the people who, who are Sindhi, who are Gujarati, who are Punjabi, they have a more intention to do the business. But the people from say UP, the people from Bihar, the people from Bengal, they are more oriented towards the service. Normally, I'm not saying, that I'm not generalizing it, but normally. So we want to check that whether the impact of economic stress on withdrawal intention is the same. Is it depends upon location? Is it that for North Indian, the intention is more, for the South Indian, it is less? For the people belonging to the business class, for example, those who belong to Rajasthan, Punjab, Gujarat, they don't feel that, okay, they see that, okay, even if there is a problem, we will still do the entrepreneurship. We will not go for the job. But the people from say Bengal, Bihar, they may think that, okay, my ancestors were right that we should not go for the business. We should stick to the job. Or we can check it with moderating effect of gender, that is it the same for the male and female? Is it this, or with the help of experience or tenure? So for example, we all know that there is a job stress, in this corona period, or among all the academics, because we all belong or other institutions. So there is an impact of this stress, and there is stress of this corona on the job. We are feeling a little bit insecure. So there is an impact of this job stress on the organizational commitment, that maybe we are thinking about that, okay, we will get the better opportunity, we will leave and something like that. Is it the same for the public sector organization and private sector organization? For public sector organizations, maybe the impact is very less. They are not feeling very insecure. They are not very stressful. Maybe they're getting bored that they're at their house, or maybe they're enjoying it. But for the people belonging to the private sector, that is more. So when we study the relationship between two variables, that when this is happening and when this is not happening, for which group it is happening, for which group it is not happening, or for which group it is more, or for which group it is less, then this becomes a case of moderation. So this is also a multivariate analysis. So instead of going for, like we say that, okay, there is an impact of electronic word of mouth on purchase intention, but it is different for the youngsters and it is different for the old people. Or we can say that it is different for the FMCG product and it is different for the luxury product. So when we are talking about when it is happening or when this is not happening, then this becomes a case of moderation. So instead of going for the univariate analysis, instead of going for the bivariate analysis, it's better that you go for the multivariate analysis, either using when this is how this is happening, the mechanism, the mediation, or when this is happening, what is the boundary condition, so moderation. Or if you think that, okay, I'm clear about all these things, then it's better that you combine both these things. So you can study the impact of stress on withdrawal intention with mediating effect of depression and moderating effect of location, combining the mechanism as well as the boundary conditions. So for example, impact of financial literacy on investment decision with mediating effect of risk perception and moderating effect of the occupation, that maybe it is more for the working women, maybe it is less for those women who have the financial literacy, who have sufficient control over the fund, but since they are not working, so they don't want to invest, they just want to keep it as a liquid fund. So maybe we will study the impact of electronic word of mouth on purchase intention with mediating role of, say, brand awareness and moderating effect of the type of product, whether it is FMCG product or luxurious product. So this becomes a case of moderated mediation or mediated moderation or conditional process. So instead of going for univariate, go for the bivariate. If you're comfortable with bivariate, go for the multivariate, either taking mediation or taking moderation, or combine these two things, and this becomes a moderated mediation model. If you want that, no, my paper should be, I am having the paper in Scopus, I am having the paper in general category, but I want to go for the Emerald A category paper or at least B category paper. Then it's better that you combine, take another thing, which is called the controlling variable. So the impact of stress on withdrawal with mediating effect of depression, moderating effect of location, controlling for, say, self-efficacy, gender, tenure, etc. So I think all these things will be discussed in the next session. I just gave a glimpse of that wattage multivariate analysis, because same is useful only when we go for the multivariate analysis. So multivariate means when you are studying more than two variables. So multiple regression is also a multivariate analysis, and there are so many multivariate analysis, multiple discriminant analysis, so many things are there. But I am talking about the structural equation modeling. For equation structural modeling, you should have three or more than three constructs, and there may be, interdependence. So for example, if we see that diagram, I hope that the screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So if we see this diagram, so the electronic word of mouth is independent variable, purchase intention is dependent variable. If you check the relationship between electronic word of mouth and brand awareness, then electronic word of mouth is still independent and brand awareness is dependent variable. But in the same relationship, the brand awareness is independent variable and purchase independent intention is dependent variable. So brand awareness is dependent variable with respect to electronic word of mouth, but it is independent variable with respect to purchase intention. So there is a multiple relationship in the structural equation modeling. Okay, so if you are doing only the bivariate analysis, so the impact of BA on PI, so there is one independent and one dependent variable. You can still use the structural equation modeling, but that is of no use. So if you are using the structural equation modeling for the sake of using it, so it will not have any impact on the this is just a case of unnecessary wastage of time. So only when you are having multivariate analysis, then you should learn the structural equation variable. So first thing is that. So if you are, since my topic is structural equation modeling, so three things. First, if you are doing univariate analysis, there is no need of structural equation modeling. If you are doing bivariate analysis, you can use structural equation modeling, but that is a wastage of time. Only if you are having more than two variables and there is, the same variable is independent at one time and dependent at other time. For example, business brand awareness was independent for purchase intention, but was dependent with respect to electronic word of mouth. Then only same should be utilized. So why same, that I discussed. What is same, I have not discussed. I will come to it. But when should we use the same? That is the third thing that should be kept in mind. Okay. So what are the philosophies that we have to learn in same? In between, if there is any question, quick question, only two questions.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, if we want to see like mediation or moderation, so in this case, हमने पहले check करना था that if independent variable and dependent variable are related or not. So if I'm introducing a third new variable should also be related with these two variables, right, sir?
हाँ. तो very quick answer कि yes. ज़्यादा इसलिए नहीं कहूँगा because this is the subject matter of the third resource person. So maybe at the end of the session, if I will have some time, then I will give the answer. But yeah, for your question, definitely yes, there should be relationship between all those things.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
How to differentiate between mediation and moderation?
Yes, sir. So mediation is when you are discussing the relationship between two variables and you are studying the mechanism that how it is happening, how electronic word of impact, electronic word of mouth is impacting the purchase intention. How? So we are saying that electronic word of mouth is influencing the brand awareness, and the brand awareness is influencing the purchase intention. So when we are talking about the how part, mechanism part, then this is mediation. On the other hand, when we emphasize on when it is happening, that means when it is happening, is it happening for the durable goods as well as luxury goods? Is it happening for the youngsters as well as old persons? So for example, there is an impact of job stress on job security. But is it the same for the public sector employee and private sector employee? So we are saying, so when we are studying the boundary conditions, that for whom it is there and for whom it is not there, then this is a case of moderation. So when mediation, how moderation?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so let me move that there are some of the philosophies that we use in SAME. Maybe you might have heard something about the SAME because CFA has already been done and mediation moderation will be done in the next part. So I am stuck in the middle, somewhere in the middle. So neither I have to deal with the CFA nor I have to deal with the mediation moderation. So my part will be more about the theory and little bit of practical as well. So there are certain things that we have to follow. There are few things that we often hear in, like in the last session also, I joined some of the parts so that I can check that from where I have to start. And I have to pass this relay to another resource person. So I should know that what is happening in the first session. So I found that some of the things are being discussed. So path, regression, EFA, etc. So few philosophies that we have to follow. That one is that if you don't know where you are going, every path will take you there. So path, every path will take you there. This is a line from Alice in Wonderland, that if you don't know where you are going, then every path will take you there. That means, like the ma'am was asking, that we must know whether relationship exists between X and Y and Z, X and Z and all those things. So that means you should have a proper knowledge of the theory, the literature review. We just cannot take any variable as mediator or any variable as moderator. So we must know where we are going. So that means the theory part should be very clear. The literature review should be very clear. Second is the education is the manifestation of perfection already present in the man. So this is a statement given by Swami Vivekananda. That means that we have already done the exploratory factor analysis. We just want to confirm whether it is perfect or not, or whether it is optimum or not. So for that we go for CFA or SEM. Third is a statement that you cannot walk on the path unless you become path. That means that you have to keep working. I mean, you have to check the path, you have to make path diagrams. Sometime a path will work, sometime a path will not work. And because maybe you are having a solid base from the theory, but your data is not supporting. So you have to again generate the data, you have to clear the data, you have to make the data cleaning and all those things. Then only, so you have to walk on the path. So unless, I mean, you cannot walk on the path unless you become a path. Next is a line that I have taken in an Arabic line, that in Allah ma sabrin, that have patience and the God will be with you. So when you do the MOs, I mean those who will be doing the MOs for the first time, there will be so many errors that you will commit. For example, you have made a diagram but you have failed to save it. You have saved it but somehow it is not running. Some things working, I mean sometimes it crashes out, because I mean we are normally working on the crashed version or we are cracked version or trial version. So sometimes it works, sometimes it may not work. So there's one red arrow. I mean sometimes it runs, sometimes it does not. So you have to keep patience, and if it is not working, don't try to rectify the things, but close the window and start working again. Sometimes it may happen that you have you have forgotten to do one some residual error. So you have made one small error in the diagram. Maybe you have failed to name an unobserved variable. I'll discuss all these things. So the bottom line is that you have to have patience. So in Allah Masa brain, that means you should have the patience. If you will have the patience, then only the God will help you in learning this same. Um, and of course, there's one line that tomorrow is another day. So if today you are not learning, I mean, if you are not getting whatever I am telling, that okay, tomorrow again there will be a session, again you will learn. So don't think that if you have learned from me, that means you cannot learn. And there is another line in Bengali, that Joto Poth Toto Moth. That means again I will be giving answer to that ma'am question. That this is a statement given by Ramkrishna Paramhans. I am not getting philosophical. I am just talking about same philosophy. This means that as many opinion, as many religion. People have different opinions, so they have the different religion, but all paths take you the same way. So for example, when you will be running the mediation analysis, then there are different assumptions that have conditions that have been given by different people. So for example, you found that if I am taking three variables, electronic word of mouth, purchase intention, brand awareness, should all these variables be related? Now there are different opinions by different people. So for example, the Baron and Kenny has given the different.
Sir, you please minimize your this screen and open the PPT. PPT is not visible. Now it's visible.
Okay. So for example, the Baron Kenny has given the different conditions. Baron Kenny says that yes, I mean, if you are taking three variables, X, Y, and Z, then all these variables should be related to each other. But the Hayes says that it is not necessary. Baron and Kenny says that if you are doing mediation, then you have to also check whether it is a partial mediation or complete mediation. Professor Hayes says that there is no such thing. So Joto Poth Toto Moth, as many person, as many opinion. So you can follow any path, you can follow any assumptions. All that is necessary is that you have to make in your paper that whose assumptions you are following. right? So these are some of the philosophies that you have to work. I mean, it's not simply philosophy, these are the philosophies of the same. So let us move forward. And so we learned something about univariate, bivariate, multivariate. We learned that what are the things that we have to keep in mind, and that if you are taking two variables, then what are the things that we have to discuss. Now the Inferno. So the Inferno means the hell. So Dante Divine Comedy has written three parts, that the path of paradise is through hell only. So first of all, you have to decide that what type of research you are doing, whether it is exploratory, whether it is confirmatory, whether it is cross-sectional, whether it is longitudinal, right? Whether it is single cross-sectional, whether it is multiple cross-sectional, whether it is longitudinal, that you have to decide well in advance. What is your research design? How many variables are under study? Because if there is only one variable, no need. Two variables, not required. Three variables, then we can go for it. And if there are three variables, but there is one dependent and two independent, then we can go for multiple regression. There is no need for same. So how many variables are under study? And what is the relationship between the variables? Is the same variable independent at one time and dependent at time? Then only we can use the same. How much data is required, that we will discuss. Where from the data will be collected, that is a simple topic. I will not discuss the primary data, secondary data, observation, interview, etc. What scaling technique has to be used? Dr. Vishal has already covered in the very first day. How will the measurement be done? Nominal, ordinal, interval ratio, etc. I will not go. What is the reliability? I don't think I should go. Validity already covered in the previous section, but still I will give a little bit of glimpse. And which statistical tools and software has to be used. So for same, we can use AMOS, which is normal. We can also use the Lizrael. We can also use the PLS same, but there are some problems with the PLS same. AMOS is the most sophisticated, but at the same time a little bit complicated. Little bit. I'm not saying complex because it's all the state of your mind. So there are so many software that we can use. And can the result be generalized? Or we have to say that our conclusion was on the basis of the sample. So if I'm studying the people, I have collected the data from the people of Presidency University. Can I generalize this result for the entire people of Bangalore? Or can I generalize it for the entire people of the Karnataka, for the entire people of South India, for the entire people of India? So can my result be generalized? So these are the questions that we have to check in advance. Then, like I said to you, that if you don't know where you are going, every path will take you there. How should the constructs be measured? So there are some variables that cannot be measured directly. For example, stress. For example, personality. For example, brand awareness. We cannot say that I am 80% aware of this brand. We cannot say directly. I cannot say that I'm going through 70% of stress. I cannot say that my intention to purchase this product is 30%. I mean, this is your intuition. This is not research. So how should the construct be measured? I mean, I cannot say that whether I am financial literate 40% or 50%. So we have to decide, because there are some variables, there are some constructs which we cannot measure directly, like height, weight, etc. I mean, those which are belonging to the ratio variables, where there is no concept of absolute zero. So when a construct that cannot be measured directly, then this is called a latent variable. Now, measure a latent variable, we use questionnaire. When we use questionnaire, then we have to decide that how many items should be there to measure that construct. So for example, I need to measure the purchase intention. So there are three ways in which I can use the questionnaire. I can make my questionnaire, I can adopt it from somewhere, or I can adapt it from somewhere by making some necessary changes according to my situation, my time, and my people. So there is a saying, Desh Kal Paristhiti. So the moment the location change, the moment the time change, the moment the situation change, you have to make some fine tuning in the questionnaire for the content validity. So how many items should be there? There should be 10 questions, there should be 20 questions, there should be only 5 questions. The more the questions, the more will be the measurement, but the more will be the error, measurement error. For three reasons. One reason, inappropriate responses. One reason, some error, I mean simple random error or non-random error, sampling error, non-sampling error. But the most important thing is, which is known as the consistency bias. So if you ask only 4 questions to a person, he will give the answer of all the 4 questions in a logical manner, because he has the time to think about the 4 questions. But if you are asking 50 questions, I mean, if you will give me 50 questions, now there is a marriage going on in my house, and I have to take the FDP, maybe I have some other work. I don't have the time to think about those 50 questions. So what I will see is that I will give the answer of 4 or 5 questions. I will have a gauze of all entire the questionnaire. I will understand that, okay, this is what you want to need. So I will say that, okay, strongly agree, tick, something like that. And this leads to consistency biasness. Okay, so how many items should be there? We have to decide. The more the items, it's good that will have the better understanding of that person or that construct. But there will be more measurement error, more say consistency biasness. The less questions, it's better. The measurement error will be less, but then the coefficient of determination, the R square, will also be less. So if I want to ask your personality, what is your personality? Now, if I will ask you only 3 questions, I can your personality. So the coefficient of determination will be very less. But if I'm having 50 questions, then maybe I will have a better understanding of your personality. But the measurement error will be there, consistency biasness will be there. So we have to decide that how many items should be there to measure a construct. How should we decide? So there are a few things. One is that what is the contribution of each item in explaining that construct? So if to measure, suppose we have taken one questionnaire, suppose we have taken one variable and we have taken 5 variable, right, to measure that construct. So we want to check that these 5 variable, say independent variable 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what is their relationship with that variable? Is this diagram visible to you? This construct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So we have taken 5 questions. We have taken 5 questions. So we have to check that should we increase more question or should we drop some of the questions? What is the contribution of each variable in measuring that variable? How to do it? So we will calculate the correlation of each item with that variable, with that construct. So this is called correlation coefficient, or this is called standardized regression weight, or this is also known as the factor loading. And the square of that factor loading is called R square, the coefficient of determination, or the communality. So if the if you know the regression, and if you know that if you have taken one dependent variable, you have taken one independent variable, and the R square value is 7%, R square is 49%. That means that independent variable is explaining only 49% variation in that dependent variable. 51% are the error terms. So for example, this item IV1 is explaining 74% variation, 26% is the error. So we need to make sure that at least 50% of the variation should be explained. So for that 50%, the R square has to be 50%. So for that, R has to be this root of 50 or say 49. So root of 49 is 7. So 0.7. So you have to check that all the factor loadings are than 0.7. If any of the correlation or standardized regression weight or factor loading, all are the same thing, is less than 0.7, that means the R square or coefficient of determination or communality is less than 50%. That means that item has to be dropped. So after deciding the questionnaire, whether you have made your questionnaire, you have adapted from somewhere, adopted from somewhere, check the correlation coefficient, and all these things will be done by the MOS. You don't have to check the correlation. It will be done by the software. You don't have to go into the algorithms. That's how we have not still measured this variable. Then how we are finding the correlation. So for that, I can give only one example that suppose you have got one Alexa. So you will say, Alexa, what is the square root of root 2? Square root of 2. And it will say 1.4. Don't go into that artificial intelligence that how Alexa is working this. You have taken the Alexa only for the entertainment. So don't, if you want to research on Alexa, that's a different issue. Similarly, you just check the provide you all the data. You just check whether it is less than 0.7 or not. Because if it is less than 0.7, suppose it is 0.6. So the square of 0.6 is 0.36. So this R square will become 0.36. That means 36% measured, 64% error. So there is no need of this question. Clear?
Yes, sir. Very much clear.
Very good.
Thank you. So we have to check that what is the contribution of each item in explaining the construct. So that will be done by MOS. We just need to check that correlation or regression weight or the factor loading is more than 0.7. The more, the better. Then we have to check what is the collective contribution of items in explaining the construct. What is meant by collective contribution? So for example, in my case, suppose for this variable, I took five items, and the correlation of all these were more than 0.7. So now take an example of net examination. I don't know the pattern of net examination in nowadays. Earlier, the rule was that there are 3 papers, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. You have to score 40 marks in all these papers, otherwise your paper will not be evaluated. So if you have got 60% in paper 1, 80% in paper 2, but only 20% in paper 3, then your paper will not be evaluated. So you have to score minimum 40% in all the 3 subjects, and collectively you have to score 50%. Now suppose one student has got, suppose these are the 3 papers, IV1, IV2, IV3. The student got 80% in first paper, 90% in second paper, and 35% third paper. Or suppose 80%, 45% in first paper, 45% in second paper, and 45% in third paper. So individually, I mean, he has qualified in all the paper, but whether he has qualified collectively or not?
No.
No. Why?
Because less than 50%.
50%.
Yeah, because your total marks is 135 only, but you have to score 150. So besides checking the individual contribution, first of all, we will check whether one paper, I mean, he has qualified in all the papers or not. Then we have to check whether he has qualified in total paper or not. Then only we will go for the merit rating, that whether he has qualified the GRF or whether he has qualified the NET or he has not qualified. It's not that you have just made 50%, and that's mean if you have collectively scored 50% and you have scored 40 marks in each of the paper, that means you are eligible for the merit listing. Then the merit listing will depending upon whether the cutoff will be 55 or 54, etc. But if any of your paper is less than 40, you are summarily rejected. Or if collectively it is less than 50%, then also you are summarily rejected. So besides checking the individual, we will also check the contribution of each item. How we will check the collective contribution? So for checking the collective contribution, we will go for one concept which is called as let me go there. We will go for this concept of validity. So we have to calculate something like we will calculate composite reliability, we will calculate average variance extracted, we will calculate MSV, etc., etc., etc. Now you don't have to go deep inside into all these things unless you want to conduct an FDP. All that you are required is that you just have to know that, okay, I have to check that how should I measure the construct, what item should I take, whether I should keep any item or I should discard that item, whether I should discard the entire item because they collectively, individually they are satisfying the criteria, but collectively they are not satisfying. So everything will be provided by the AMOS, and that's why AMOS is a wonderful software, because you just have to know that what you want. You don't need to know that how it is working. Don't go into the algorithm part. Don't go into that software part. I should not know that how this software is running. All that I need is that my computer is running. I'm taking a class. Now, how it is happening, how this internet is working, I don't want to go into that part. So don't go into that part. Otherwise, there will be a problem. Next is, what is the reliability and validity of this scale? So you have to check the validity of this scale. First of all, if your questionnaire is not valid, then it is definitely not reliable. So first you have to check the validity. First you have to check whether your questionnaire is valid or not. If it is not valid, it is obviously not reliable. If it is valid, then it may be reliable, it may not be reliable. So where is that part? Okay, so you have to check the validity. Okay, so if it is valid, then only check the reliability. If it is valid, it may or may not be reliable. But if it is not valid, it cannot be reliable. So why SAME or why AMOS? Because you cannot check the validity with any other tool than AMOS. I mean, you can do it. You can do some manual. You can use the Excel sheet, but that will take too much of time and too much knowledge of some statistical things. But if you are using the AMOS, it will give the result in a section of time, and that we will check in the practical part. So I think in the previous section it has been done, but I will show you again in 2 minutes. So you have to check the validity, and most of the times what we do is that we write that the Cronbach alpha of our questionnaire is 0.8, so that means it's a good questionnaire. So no, you have not done the first thing. The necessary condition is validity, the sufficient condition is reliability. So first check the validity, and for validity you have to use MOS or CFA. Now this validity, as you can see, are different types, the content, criterion, nomological, construct, etc. But only for construct validity, we need the statistical measurement. This construct validity is of two types, convergent and discriminant. So what are those things? Let me give you in a layman language that what are these two things. And I will not go for the technical definitions, etc. I will just show that how Amos can calculate all these things. All that you need to know is that, okay, I needed the validity. I need to check the construct validity. I need to check the validity. I need to check the discriminant validity. I need to know that what are the conditions, and then Amos will do all these things for you. But what is convergent and what is discriminant? Let's come to it. Now suppose, okay, suppose we have taken this question, this questionnaire only. Okay, in between I will keep asking that simple question that am I audible? Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, because whenever in this online class we are often scared that people are listening or not. I mean, screen is visible or not. Okay, so suppose for this construct, whether it is financial literacy, whether it is electronic word of mouth, whether it is job stress, whatever this variable is, we have taken the 5 questions. So individually, all the items are satisfying the criteria. I mean, all are more than 0.7, so that R square is more than 50%. Collectively also, suppose, I mean, we that is okay. Now we need to check whether all these questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are related to this variable only or they are related to some other variable. For example, I mean, in layman language, suppose he is the father, the construct, and these 5 are the sons. So we need to check that the DNA of each son is matching with his father. This is the concept of convergent validity, that all the items are converging to that variable. All the items are associated with that variable. They are not measuring something else. Let me take a simple example, some non-technical example. We want to check, since we all belong to a teaching community some way or other way. So we want to check the feedback of a faculty. So we ask the student that whether he is timely or not, whether he is punctual or not, whether he gave the notes or not, whether he is transparent in evaluation or not, whether he gave the answer of your query or not, whether he is vegetarian or non-vegetarian. The moment this question comes, whether he is vegetarian or non-vegetarian, then the question comes that how is it related to the feedback of that teacher? Whether a faculty is vegetarian or non-vegetarian, how does it matter? So that means that question is not converging with that variable. The DNA of this question is not matching with the parent. So we have to check the DNA, and for checking the DNA, we need few things. For example, we calculate few things. One thing is called the average variance extracted, and one thing is called the composite reliability. But so when you are using only one variable, if you are doing a univariate analysis, then we check only these two things. Now suppose we have taken 3 variables. So one is independent variable, one is mediating variable, one is dependent variable. So one is electronic word of mouth, one is brand awareness, one is intention. To measure electronic word of mouth, we have taken 5 questions and we have checked whether all these things are related to that parent or not. For the second variable, we have taken 5 questions. We have checked whether they are converging with its parent or not. And for the third variable, the dependent variable, the purchase intention, we have taken 3 questions and we are checking whether the DNA of all these 3 are related to that parent or not. So this is the concept of convergent validity. Now we need to check that the DNA of any of these IV1, IV2, IV3, IV4 or IV5 should not match with this MV or should not match with DV. That means all these variables high correlation, regression weight, standardized regression weight, or high factor loading with their parent, but should not have any relationship or very less relationship with the other people. So if there are 3 people, say Peter, Tom, and Matthews, so the son of the Peter should have their DNA matched with only Peter. This is the concept of convergent validity, and they should not have their DNA in any relationship with that of Matthew. This is the concept of convergent validity. So when we are using only one construct, then we use only convergent validity. If you are using 3 variables, Suppose you have done exploratory factor analysis, you have identified 4 factors, but these are separate factors, none of them is independent or dependent, then we use only convergent validity. But if you are using multivariate model in which you have taken 2 different variables or 3 different variables, then you have to show convergent validity as well as divergent validity, discriminant validity. So convergent validity, so all the factor loading should be high with their parent. So all these MV1, MV2, MV3, MV4, MV5 should have high correlation with MV. DV1, DV2, DV3, DV4, DV5 should have high correlation with DV. So we are calculating this. I mean, these are called the convergent validity. And all these IV1, IV2, IV3, IV4, IV5 should not have any correlation with MV or should not have any correlation with DV. All these MV1, MV2, MV3, MV4, MV5, their DNA should not match with IV or should not match with DV. So these are the concept of discriminant validity. So when you are using one construct, only convergent validity. If you are using 2 constructs, then convergent as well as discriminant validity. How to check the convergent and discriminant validity? So there are certain statistical terms, there are certain things that we use, AVE, etc. Okay, so how to calculate those things we will not discuss. We will use the MOs and it will show all the result and it will check you and will tell you whether there is any problem in convergent validity or discriminant validity. So that you can do with the MOs. So the concept of convergent and discriminant validity, whether it is clear or not, then how to do it, that I will show you. Is it clear, the reliability and validity?
Yes, sir, it is very clear. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next is thing that is very important is our data supporting the theory. So they're just saying in the Bible, in the beginning there was a word, the word was with God and the word was God. They're just saying by Kurt Lewin that there's nothing as practical as a good theory. So for that, just understand that what is same, this all thing. So in simple explanation, let's try to understand it. Rest of the things, so I most will do, so don't worry about it. So let's understand it that everything is a phenomenon. This COVID is a phenomenon. This FDP is a phenomenon. We are talking, this is a phenomenon. When a phenomenon is consistently explained, then this becomes a theory. So all the phenomena are not theory, but all the theory are result of some phenomenon. When a theory is represented with the help of a diagram, with the help of a flow chart, then this becomes a model. So model is a representation of a theory. Now this model has 2 components. One is the measurement component and one is the structural component. So one is we are measuring the component and one is we are identifying whether these components are related to each other or not. So when we are only doing the measurement, then this becomes CFA. When we are identifying the relationship between the component, then this becomes regression. When we do both the things, then this becomes structural equation modeling. Let me repeat it again. So everything is a phenomenon. The consistent explanation of a phenomenon is a theory. When a phenomenon is explained consistently, so we all have a theory of motivation. We all have a theory, but all the theories are not universal. So Maslow identified that these are the 5 hierarchy. So there may be some criticism of the theory. There may be some modification of the theory, but then this becomes a theory because was explained was some consistent, comprehensive explanation of phenomenon that yes, for most of the people, this is happening. Physiological need, then safety need, then social need, then STEM need, then actualization, self-actualization need. So phenomenon is explained by theory. Theory is represented by models. And model, there are 2, and we check whether the model, the representation is good or not. So we know, the literature says that, okay, electronic word of mouth is related to brand awareness. Brand awareness is related to purchase intention. Electronic word of mouth is related to purchase intention. So this is a theory. We know that this is because this happened. This is a phenomenon. If I don't have any awareness about the brand, then obviously I'm not going to purchase it. Most of the times. So it's a phenomenon. Now somebody gave the definition of brand awareness, what is electronic word of mouth, what is purchase intention, what is consumer, what is customer, what is all those things. So this becomes a theory. Now I made a model, I made this model. Okay, that this is the model that explains this theory. Now I have to check whether this model is fit or not. So I have to check the model fitness. To check whether this model is fit or not, what I will do is that I will collect the data. I will make a questionnaire, or I will do the observation method, or whatever. I will collect some data, and I will analysis, and I will check whether my data is supporting the model or not. So the theory is there. Theory is represented by a model. We collect the data to check whether our data is supporting this model or not. I mean, based on my data, maybe, the sample that I'm using, the sampling that I'm using, the sampling technique that I'm using, the sample size I'm using, the respondent I'm getting, I found that there is no such relationship. But maybe Dr. Vishal is doing the same thing, and he's finding that yes, he's supporting this model. So some of the data may support the model, some of the data may not support the model, but the model is there. So we check. So what is important is the theory. You must have the knowledge of the theory. The second thing is that you have to understand that how to make the model. Third thing is collect the data and then conclude whether your data is supporting the model or not. You cannot say that this theory is wrong. You just have to say that my data is not supporting my theory, or my data is confirming my theory. So, so if you are studying all these things in isolation, electronic word of mouth, business awareness, intention, because you have to show that for the questionnaire that you have used for electronic word of mouth, so there is a convergent validity. For business brand awareness, this model is fit, and there is a the questionnaire is valid and all those things. For purchase intention, everything is good. So you have to measure all these items. You have to measure brand awareness, you have to measure electronic word of mouth, you have to measure purchase intention. You can measure it one by one in isolation, you can measure it collectively. So that is one part. So for example, let me show it in this way. Let me try to explain it in this way. That suppose these are my three variable. One is this IV, this is IV, read it in this way, that this is electronic word of mouth. The second variable is the brand awareness. The third is the purchase intention. So I am measuring, this is a measurement model, because I am not showing whether I've just written IV, MV, DV, but suppose I'm not writing IV, MV, etc. I am writing instead of IV, I have written electronic word of mouth. Here I have written purchase brand awareness, and in the third part I have written the purchase intention. So I just want to check whether my measurement model is fit or not, whether the construct validity is there or not, whether convergent validity is there or not, whether discriminant validity or not, whether the data is supporting the measurement or not. So this is called measurement model. This is called CFA. So you can do it in isolation. That means you can do for one variable at one time, second variable for another time, third variable for the third time. Or you can collectively take all the variables, 3, 4, 5 variables, and you can collectively do the measurement. But this is still CFA. Why CFA? Because there is no independent or dependent variable. In this, suppose there are 4 variables, A, B, C, D is written here. We cannot say which one is independent or which one is dependent. So this is a part of measurement model. You can do individually, you can do collectively. So when we are talking about the model, then this is basically CFA, confirmatory factor analysis. So CFA you have to done, whether you are going for multivariate analysis or not. Now, if you have identified the direction, suppose you have identified the direction and you are saying that, okay, after checking the measurement model, that okay, validity, etc., all these things are there. Now you are saying that one is independent variable and second is dependent variable. So you are giving a direction, you are giving an arrow that human resource policy has an influence on the turnover intention of the employees, or electronic word of mouth has an impact on the purchase intention. So let's take in this way that we are saying that okay, electronic word of mouth, see the direction of the arrow from electronic word of mouth brand awareness. So we are saying that this has an impact on brand awareness. So this becomes the structural component. Second part becomes the structural component. Electronic word of mouth and to purchase intention, this becomes a structural component. So there are two components of any model: the measurement component, which is CFA, the structural component, which is regression. Collectively they are called same. So that means CFA is a part of same. So if you are doing same, that means you have done CFA. If you have done CFA, that does not mean you have done structural equation modeling. Only if you have identified the equations Only if you have identified the relationship, identified which one is independent, which one is dependent, then it becomes the structural equation modeling. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so any quick question? In between I can sip water.
Sir, you are saying a lot about Amos that with the help of Amos we can do all these things. But sir, Amos is expensive. Even in the trial, the versions that we pirated version that all of us have, I think most of us have SPSS, that doesn't give free access to Amos. And Amos is pretty expensive. Not all universities also have that. So sir, can we do the same thing in R? It might look irrelevant because I will be working on that. You are saying everything that you are doing is focused on Amos. So can we do the same thing in R as well? Can it show this structural equation modeling and can it do all these things that you have said? R software.
Okay. Okay, quick response because I do not have much knowledge about R, and Vishal sir, you can ask this question to Vishal sir because he takes so many sessions on R. Few things that I can say is that only few things. I mean, with my limitation, one thing is that okay, R is free software, and R is syntax based. So if you are comfortable with syntax, then you can use R. But if you are more comfortable with the command, you just want to give the command that okay, take this, click this, and everything result will be there. Then Amos is better or SPSS is better. So far as so this is the one thing that in R you have to learn the syntax. If there is any mistake in one comma or anything, then the result will be gone. Whether same can be done in R or not, I am not sure. I mean, honestly, I am not sure. I have never seen anybody doing structural equation modeling using R. So Vishal sir can I mean give you the answer at the end of this session because he conducts so many things on Python and R and all those things. And the most important thing is whether you are comfortable with syntax or you are comfortable with the command. So for example, I am comfortable with command. I am not comfortable with syntax. I cannot write the programming languages. So that's why I use Amos. One thing. Second thing is that that Amos is an expensive software and pirated version, etc. All those things. For that, there is a very simple answer that there are three ways to study a book: buy, borrow, or steal. So one thing is that you can buy the Amos. Okay, it's expensive, we cannot buy. Second thing is that we can borrow it from somewhere. That means we can ask from some people who have an access of the not the trial version, but maybe this cracked version, so we can run it. And the cracked version is easily available everywhere. Third thing is that we can steal it. Steal it means that you do the collect the data and you take the help of some people. You go to a place and you do the analysis, or you ask the help of some people that please do the analysis for me using the R or using the Amos or all these things. So three things are there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, Devasri. Any quick question? Okay, so when there is no question, then there are only two assumptions that either everything is clear or nothing is clear.
Sir, everything is very much clear.
Okay, then thank you.
Most of the things are clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So you explained so well, sir. We didn't even have the idea of these terms. Always used to hear it, but didn't have any idea. Today I got lots of idea.
Okay, thank you. Then let's move ahead. Let's move ahead then. So this is same. So you have to do the CFA, but you may do the same or you may not do the same. That depends upon whether there is. So for example, in the previous session, there was in fact you identified 5 factors. So for those 5 factors, you have to do the CFA. You have to check the measurement model. You have to do the validity. But if you think that these variables are related to each other, one is independent, one is dependent, etc., then you have to run this regression or path analysis or the structural component. And when you are doing both these things together, CFA as well as regression, then this becomes structural equation modeling. So theoretically, what is same? Now let me go to another part. So okay, few of the things that we should know that when we are making the diagram, then one is the construct or latent variable that we want to measure but we cannot measure. So for example, not height, because height we can measure 165 centimeter, 170 centimeter, but we cannot measure your spirituality, we cannot measure your leadership, we cannot measure your personality. So for that, that construct is represented by a circle or an oval. So you have seen this diagram that there are there is one and then there are some rectangles. So the variable which is latent variable which you want to measure is represented by, I mean, which is a latent variable which is a construct which will be represented by an oval shape. And all those items or the questions that you are using to measure that items are known as the items, and that will be represented by the error. And with all the items will be some errors, because like I said that the first question may be explaining 74% variation, but still 26 are unknown. So all the errors, these are also unobserved. That's why we are using the circle. Second thing, when you are drawing the diagram, is that the direction of the arrow will be from construct to item. So you can see that from oval to rectangle, you remember this way, this construct item will may confuse you. So from oval to rectangle, so whether, I mean, in this case, from variable 1 to this, all the arrow, see the direction of the arrow, and also in this way, from E5 to IV1, from E4 to IV2. So when you are drawing the diagram, few things, few simple rules are there that, and I will share this slide with all you people, that constructs will be represented by circle, items or the questions will be represented by rectangle. With every observed variable, there will be an error. The error will also be represented by the circle. Direction of the arrow will be from construct to the items or from oval to the rectangle. Next is whether there is any loop or not. Loop or not, that I will discuss a little bit later. Next thing is that you have to remember one thing, one rule of the thumb is that, so to measure any variable, you have taken five, I mean, we have taken 5 variables. Minimum 3 questions should be there. Suppose you have taken one variable and you have done the factor analysis, EFA, and you found 5 factors. In the first factors, there are 4 questions. In the second question, there are 5 questions. In the third factor, there are 4 questions, 5 questions, etc. Okay, you have to make sure that for any variable or for any factor, the minimum number of items should be 3, not less than 3. If it is 4, very good. If it is 3, still it is good. If it is 2 or less than 2, then there will be a problem in the structural equation modeling. So if you are using the questionnaire, make sure that for all the constructs, the minimum items are 3 or the more than 3. Or if you are using the factor analysis and then you want to do the CFA, then make sure that for each factor, the minimum items in that factor should be 3, not less than 3. Why? Because there is a concept which is called that identification. Although this is not very necessary, I mean, this is desirable, not a vital knowledge, but then this is a little bit necessary, that there is a concept which is called the degree of freedom. We should not go for the degree of freedom. It's a little bit technical, and also the time constraint, and also it is not very vital to know all these things. I mean, unless you are at the advanced stage. All that you have to know is that if your degree of freedom is less than 0, then your model is unidentified model. It will not run. If the degree of freedom is 0, this will be just identified model. So it may run, but with some problems. So a model fitness, there will be some problem in the model fitness. And if the degree of freedom is greater than 0, then this is called over-identified model. So make sure that your model is over-identified. Now, what is unidentified, just identified, over-identified, that we will not discuss here, because then there are so many things that we have to learn. So sometimes कुछ चीजें होती कहते हैं कि जान लो और कुछ को कहते हैं कि मान लो. But there are few things that learn, and there are few things that you just listen, and if there is next time or if there is any other time when there will be more thing, then you can ask. So for example, if for this construct I have taken 4 questions, so it will be an over identified model, and this will not create any problem in further analysis. For second variable, suppose I have taken only 3 items, item 1, item 2, item 3. So this will be just identified model, and the degree of freedom will be 0, and there will be problem in payment model, in the CFA, in the reporting. For this item, this construct, I have taken only 2 items or 2 questions. This will be an unidentified model. The degree of freedom will be negative, and this will be very, very difficult for you to report this. So how to construct, or how to identify, over identified, etc., that is of not important. Just remember that if you have taken only 3 items, then degree of freedom will be 0. It will be a just identified model, so still it will work. And I will show you, few of the things I will explain, but so few of the things I'm not explaining because of time constraint. If there are 2 items, then the degree of freedom will become negative. It under-identified model and there will be problem in the measurement. So your model will not run, there will be problem in AMOS. And if there are 4 items, then it's very good, the degree of freedom is positive. So try to make degree of freedom positive. So if there are 4 questions, it will be positive, it is very good. If 3, it's just identified, you are on the break-even point. If 2, you are making a loss. So for 2 questions, you are making a loss. For 3 questions, you are on the break-even point. For 4 or more than 4 questions, you are making profit. So make sure that you are making a profit. So how many questions should? So this is the thing, that minimum 3 or more than 3. Next one thing is that there are few things that we should learn, this orders of CFA. So there are 3 different types of order: 0 order, second order, first order. Note that I am using the word 0 order, second order, first order. I mean, I'm not using 0 order, first order, second order. It's non-linear: 0, then second, then first. So when you are using only one variable, you just want to measure the economic stress, you just want to measure the purchase intention, you just want to measure the job stress, you just want to measure the withdrawal intention. You have taken 4 questions, etc. So in this case, basically, we are using the CFA only because there's only one variable, and this is called 0 order CFA. For 0 order CFA, what we will show is that only measurement component, that is only CFA, and only conversion validity. So if you are using only one variable, then only measurement, no relation, because no structure, there is only one variable. So how come it's the question of independent or dependent? So we will show only CFA, we will do only conversion validity. If you are using 2 variables, I mean, you are saying that this and this leads to this. So you are saying that basically your openness, and I mean, to what extent you are extrovert or introvert, and to what extent you are reliable or not. These are basically making the construct that whether you are trustworthy or not. So I need an employee who should be trustworthy. For that, I need to check. So suppose I am looking for a person who for marketing, for the sales job. So I need to check. So this is employability. I mean, the last circle. So whether he is employable or not, I want to check. So employability cannot be tested with one question. It's cannot be directly measured. So we use some questions. But before that, I thought that actually before measuring employability, I think employability depends upon 2 things. The first thing is whether he is extrovert or not, because for the job of a sales, he has to be extrovert, he or she has to be extrovert. And second, he or she should be agreeable. I mean, he should not be argumentative all the time. He has to be agreeable with the customer, that yes ma'am, you're right, yes ma'am, you're right, but ma'am, you can also look for this product. So I thought that these are the 2 traits which are necessary, that he should be extrovert and he should be agreeable. And then maybe you can say that third factor, we can also say that whether he has the neuroticism or not. I mean, whether he can withstand the stress or not, because in the field he has to feel so many people, he has to meet so many people. So whether he can withstand the stress or not. So suppose you identified 3 or 4 factors, and you say that after measuring factors, I will check whether he is employable or not. So for measuring the employability, you have identified 2, 3, 4 factors, and for those factors, you are using the questions. So this is known as the case of second order. So we are measuring the first, we are measuring the first construct with the help of some questions. We are measuring the second construct with the help of some questions. Similarly, we are measuring 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. constructs. And then collectively, we are checking whether all these constructs are making the big constructs or not. So for example, those from the field of organization behavior or HR, also from the market. We know that personality, there is a model which is called Big 5 model. That whether there is openness or not, whether there is conscientiousness or not, whether there is extraversion or not, whether there is agreeableness or not, and whether there is neuroticism or not. So we are measuring the openness, we are measuring the conscientiousness, we are measuring the extraversion, we are measuring the agreeableness, we are measuring the conscientiousness with the help of some questions. Then we are checking whether these all openness, extraversion, conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism are making this big model personality or not. So this becomes a case of second order CFA. Those who are from the field of marketing, and they must have heard this word, the service quality, the persona model. I hope, I mean, those from the field of marketing. So when we are measuring the service quality, then we check few factors. I'm not from the field of marketing, but few things I know, that tangibility is there or not, and all those few things are there or not. So we are measuring the tangibility, etc., 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 5 factors with the help of some questions. Then we are checking whether all these 5 vary items or all these 5 constructs are making the bigger constructs or not. So this becomes a case of second order. Or in some other third example, so suppose for some placement drive, you want to check whether a student is employable or not. So you feel that there are two things that should be there. One thing is that he should have he should be an honest person, and then only will give him or her the employment. And second is he should be hardworking. There's two factors you are checking for employability. So so you think that the honesty and hard worker, these two are making a person employable. So instead of measuring employability directly, you have identified two small constructs. You are measuring two small constructs with questions, and then you are checking whether these two small constructs, honesty and hardworking, are converging on the big model employability or not. Then this is called the second order CFA. So if you are running a second order CFA, then what you need to do is that you have to check the convergent validity for the first model, honesty, the convergent validity for the second model, the discriminant validity for both the model. You have to report not discriminant, because we are not checking the relationship between these two variables. We are measuring the first variable independently, second variable independently. So we will report only convergent validity, and we will report only measurement component. There is no arrow direction, so there is no structural equation. But we also need to check that these two constructs whom you have measured, the honesty and hardworking, they are correlated with each other. So there should be a correlation of 0.6 between these. It's not that you measured the honesty with few questions, you measured the hardworkingness with 8 or 10 questions. You check that both have the convergent validity. There is model fitness, and so we can say that both are making this employability, and we can make a model. No, there is one extra term that you have to check, that whether these two constructs have high correlation more than 0.6 or not. So before going for second order, be a little bit cautious. Similarly, there can be third order, fourth order, etc. Thus, these two items, the hardworkingness and honesty, are making a person employable. The employability and the salary is giving him the status. So we measured his employability with the help of two things. So suppose I want to get my sister married, because marriage is tomorrow. So I want to check the groom. He should be honest, he should be hardworking. That means he will be employable. So I measured the employability with the help of these two, second order CFA. Then I check that also I need to check that he is employable, that's good. But whether he has got some social status or not, people know him or not. So I measured his social status. So based on the social status and based on his employability, that okay, his status is good in the society and also employable, he will get a good job. So that means having he has a choice for my sister. So when you are using two constructs to match one construct, again two constructs to match one construct, then this becomes a case of third order CFA. Little bit advanced, little bit complicated. So zero order, then second order, second, third, fourth are more or less the same. Now let's go back to, still we are not using the word structural equation modeling, because there is nothing called independent and dependent. We are saying that these two are making this construct, these two are making this constructs. Hardworking and honesty are making him employable. Employability and social status is making him the preferred groom. But we are not saying one is independent and one is dependent. So in case of zero order, second order, third order, fourth order, we are not using structural equation modeling. Only when we are giving the direction that this is independent variable and this is dependent variable. So arrow is from one direction to another direction, and there is an independent and dependent relation. Then we use, this is called first order CFA, and this is called, when using the first order CFA, then we have to report the measurement component plus structural component. So for example, this first factor, this is there is a validity and the model is fit. The second variable, there is model validity and there is model fitness. So we did all these things. And now we will check whether this is related to this. We will check whether there is a equation we can fit on it or not. So structural component. So when we are doing the measurement component as well as structural component, when we are checking the convergent validity as well as discriminant validity, then this is called the first order CFA, and this is called structural equation modeling. So let's check in two different ways. Zero order CFA, there is no dependent variable, no same, only CFA, only convergent validity, only model fitness. If second order, that means two variables are making the third variable, but none is independent or dependent, none is influencing the other, two are just making the third. So again, no, this is already second order CFA, no structural equation modeling, no regression. But there is an independent and dependent relationship, then this becomes a case of first order CFA, this becomes a case of structural equation modeling. Okay, now a few rules that I was talking about. So let's go back to that rule because if you are learning it for the first time. Okay, so few of the rules that I have written that you can go through in this slide that I will share with you is that some rules. Okay, so the constructs will be represented by circle or oval. Questions will be represented by the rectangle. With every rectangle, there will be an error term. The direction of the arrow will be from oval or the circle to rectangle, from circle to rectangle. Loop I will talk later, and I have written only 5 items here to show that it is an over identified model, but there must be minimum 3 items per construct, not less than 3. So these are some of the basic rules that you should know. There's one more term that we often use, and I've been using so many times, like I told you that everything is a phenomenon, the consistent explanation is a theory, the representation is a model, the model has 2 components, and to check those 2 components, we collect the data, and we check whether the model is fit or not. So model is fit or not, model is fit or not. That means we are using a word repeatedly, model is fit or not. What is a model fitness? So first let me explain it in terms of some non-technical term, and then I will use some technical term. So the first some non-technical terms. So the non-technical term is that the health. So we say that there are 2 types of cholesterol, the good cholesterol and a bad cholesterol. And we know that for a healthy life, for a healthy heart, the good cholesterol should be high and the bad cholesterol should be low. So there should be high cholesterol. I mean, there will be both cholesterol, good as well as bad, but we have to ensure that the good cholesterol is high and the bad cholesterol is low. Similarly, there are 2 types of model fitness. One is the goodness of fit and one is called the badness of fit. So if it is there, let me check. So there are 2 fitness, goodness of fit and badness of fit. Anyway, let me see it there. So, so for example, now there are so many things or so many statistics that will be provided by the MO software or Lisdale, or even if you are using if you are using same, then there are so many statistics that you will get. So one is called CFI, TFI, LFI, NFI, CMIN by DF, R close, P close, RMSEA, SRMR, so many things are there. So I don't want to confuse with all these things. What I am saying is that all these indices can be classified broadly in 2 categories. One are known as goodness of fit, one are known as badness of fit. All those things which belong to the goodness of fit category, which are the good cholesterol, should be very high, say 0.9, more than 0.9. All those which falls in the bad cholesterol, badness of it, they should be less. So for example, this CMIN by DF, okay, this should be between 1 and 3. This CFI, this is the goodness of it, this is a good cholesterol, this should be greater than 0.95. This SRMR, this is a bad cholesterol, this should be less than 0.08. RMSEA, this is also a bad cholesterol, should be less than 1. P close is a good cholesterol, should be greater than 0.05. So some of the values should be high and some of the values should be low. Now, what is high and what is low? So you can go for different theories. Again, there are three types of comparison that we make. One is called absolute, one is called comparative, and one is called parsimony. So when I am checking you whether you are a good student or not, first of all, I will ask you that what is your score? You will say, sir, 80%. So this is one thing, your absolute score. Second is that I will check that what was expected from you. So my expectation was that you will minimum score 85% and you will score only 80%. So for me, you become not a good student because my expectation was 85%. So when we are comparing it with something, then this is called comparative model. So one is absolute model, one is comparative model. Third is I am comparing it not with my expectation, not with my model, but with the other students in your class that you have scored 80%. My expectation was 85%, but the other students have scored only 5%. So when I'm making an evaluation about you, then I will say three things. What is your marks? What is your marks in comparison to other students? What is your marks which was expected from you from my side? So there are three measures. So when you will see the AMOS result, so there are so many things, and for everything there will be three lines: absolute, comparative, and parsimony. What you need to do is that you have to check only one indices from absolute, only one indices from parsimony, and only one indices from say comparative. So for example, the CFI, this is an absolute measure. This SRMR is a comparative measure, and this RMSEA is a parsimonious measure. So how many things we should report? Because there are so many things. So okay, these are, but we don't want to learn so many things. So what we can do is that there are certain criteria given by so many people. So like this goodness of criteria. So there is one gentleman, Hugh Bentler. So he has given some criteria. He says that you have to report only these five things. Just report, I mean, just see in your table as 7 by DF, but 7 is nothing but chi-square, CFI, SRMR, RMSE, and P close. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Good should be high, bad should be low. One of them is absolute, one of them is parsimony, one of them is comparative. And this is the table. So you check what is your value. If the value is in this region, the third column, that is excellent result. If it is in the second column, it's acceptable. If it is in the first table, that means there is some problem with the data. There may not be the problem with the model. The problem is with the data. So either there is consistency bias, either there is a problem in the model fitness. I mean, your model is not fit. The model that you have made is not fit, means your data is not supporting the model. So you have to check the model fitness, the goodness of fit indices. So different people have given different criteria. So you can use any criteria. I will share the slide with you. But this Hugh Bentler is the most simple. This is the simplest of the criteria. This has been given. So you can write in your paper that my CFI was say 0.98, my SRMR was 0.04, my RMSEA was 0.02, my P close was 0.78, which is excellent according to Hugh Bentler, given the reference that Hugh Bentler 1946 something like that. So this is how you present your result. Before going for anything else, one more thing that I should show you, that one question is always there: what should be the sample size? What should be the sample size? When we talk about the sample size, then there are so many things that we talk about: multivariate normality, estimation technique, model complexity, etc. But because of the paucity of time, I am sharing with you something that this is the criteria. If your constructs, I mean, you have taken only say 3 variables, one independent, one dependent, and one mediating, and item per constructs are 3 or more than 3, and communality is also 0.6 or more than 0.6, that is that R square, the square of factor loading, then even a sample size of 100 is enough. If you have taken too many constructs, the more the constructs, the more the sample size. The less the construct, the less the sample size. So if you're working for the first time or relatively new for this AMOS or this same, then suffices to say that you take only 5 or less than 5 constructs. Check that for all the constructs, for all the communality, that is the factor loading, is more than 0.6 or more than 0.7. If any of the item is not showing a communality or this factor loading is less than 0.7, drop that item. and then you can show the result even with the help of 100 sample size. So you and then there is one rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is says that if you are taking a sample size of 30%, as I say 300, then everything is good, because I mean this criteria says that if there are 7 or less than 7 constructs, and if the communality is even 0.45, then 300 sample size will do. So unless you are making your model very complicated, 7 constructs, 8 constructs, 9 constructs, then you have to go for sample size. So my simple humble submission is that take your constructs 3, 4, maximum 5, not more than 5. Even 5 is very complicated. I have never worked with 5. Let me honestly speak, I have never worked with 5. I have gone to the extent of only 4. Make sure that all the constructs are minimum having 3 questions, 3 or more than 3, so that the model is over identified, and drop all the items whose communality is less than 0.6. And then even if your sample size is 100, then there is no reason to bother. You can show this chart given the reference of Hugh and Bentler. Okay, so the next few minutes I will show you some practical things, that all these things are so easy in AMOS, but for that I need just a simple break of 5 minutes. I have to go below in my room because the battery is running low and I am on the roof. So just give me not 5 minutes, only 2 to 3 minutes. So I will show you that how these things are run in the AMOS, and how these things are, how all these results that I was discussing about will be calculated in a fraction of a second. All that you, all this thing that was required is that you should know few of the things. Other things AMOS will do. Now, how you arrange the AMOS, that is something that we will discuss. So give me only 2 minutes. I will just charge this laptop, and then I will show you the practical part. Just 5 minutes, no, 2 minutes. Okay, my humble apology for this inconvenience, but I have requested them to give me the room for 10 minutes. Alright, so let me share this AMOS. I hope I am again sorry. Alright, so I hope I am audible.
Yes,
Yes.
you're audible.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, it is audible.
So this 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes is very simple, and this will show you that whatever we have know, we should know what is factor loading, we should know what is our theory, we should know what is our model. Running the AMOS, how to get the AMOS, that's a different issue. That can is there any possibility that we can take the help of some people who are having this? Can we work on cracked version? And if you can get access to the cracked version, and it's available so many places. I mean, I think in every major city, whether it is Calcutta or Delhi or Bangalore, I think it is available. Then I will show you. Let me show you, because I have to, in the team, I have to run open a new software. Na? So let me share the another thing, how to run these things. So we will work on the same data on which you have worked in the previous section, so that the things will not make you complicated. So if you are working with me, then let's go to that SPSS software first of all. Okay, is this SPSS visible to you?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is the same data that you have used in the previous class, right? So we will be using the same thing. Suppose we have taken 5 variables. One is TKH, one is ENG, one is DES, one is COC, one is TRA. So 5 variables are there. Or let's do it for the sake of simplicity. Let's drop one. Let's do for it 5. No issue. So there are 5 variables that we have taken for our study, and we ran our. We will be doing our factor analysis. So I'm sure that this part is there. So analyze, dimension reduction, factor, selected all the variables, shifted it, traction, continue. Is the sound from my end?
No, sir. Sir, I think you can unmute. You can mute all the participants and continue.
Okay. I just from my end. That's why. So mute all the participant. I don't know whether I can mute all person or not.
So you can find the person who's unmuted and mute him as well. I don't think anybody has done it intentionally, maybe by mistake.
By mistake. That's okay. Now I think it's if there is any.
Sir, I can mute everybody. I'll mute them, so you can just continue, sir.
Okay. It's only 110 minutes. Okay, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Right. So this SPSS is visible to you. Okay. So and you have done the factor analysis. Fine. And you have found this. Oh, now we have to share the output. This is the problem with team, that you have to share every time. You have to share that part. Is this output visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, my fan was also making noise. Okay, so in this factor, the first and the foremost thing that you have to see is that the rotated component matrix. And you have to make sure, like this, all this TKH1, TKH2, TKH3, they are having the relations with only TKH. This ENG1, ENG2, they are having the relation with only ENG. So if you are getting a clean rotated component matrix, that means if there is no cross loading, that means the factor analysis is good. But if there is any problem in the cross loading, if there's any issue in the cross loading, that means the same variable is having a relationship with factor 1 as well as factor 2, then this will create a problem. So, okay, this is the output. That is, you are done with it. So let me save this output. Let me just save it. And let me save this input also. Because this part is through, you know all this thing. So let me not discuss this part, but let me go to this MOS. Okay, is this new software visible to you?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, all right, all right, all right. Now you see that how all these things are so simple only at the click of one click. So what we need to do is that first of all we have to import the data. So this is the file. It is written here, select data files. So if I will give more time for some practical session on some other times, then we will discuss everything. Right now I am not teaching you MOS. My aim was to give you a theoretical background of structural equation modeling, that how should you aim for the paper, what are the things that you should know. And running an MOS is not a big thing. Running a software is never a big thing. It's only some command. Running a R, I don't know, because I don't know R, so maybe I will not say about these things. But running a software like SPSS and MOS are very simple. You just have to give the command. They are very good servant, but they are bad master. Very good servant. You just know, you should know what you are asking them to do, and they will do everything for you without giving you any headache. So select the data, check the file name. So you have saved that data somewhere in the desktop or somewhere. So Presidency University data. So select that data, and that data has been imported. Did you understand? The first step is you have to import the data. How to import the data? Any one person, if he or she can say yes, then I will get to know that okay, everything is visible to him or her. That
Yes,
click
sir.
on select data, click on file name, check your file in the SPSS form or .sav form. So this is written. Is this visible to you? Presidency University data.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so click on that data. Click on open and click on OK. And just that data has been imported. Now that you have imported the data, I mean, when you were importing the data from Excel to SPSS, everything was visible to you, data view, variable view, etc. But in MOS, the things are not visible. So how can we make sure that things are visible? So there is one icon, list variables in data set. Click on it, and you will check whether all these variables have come or not. One person only, I mean, just say that yes, it is visible, so that I can get to know
Yes.
that you are all right. So we have imported the data. Now what you need to do is that very simple thing is that you have to do is that you remember that rotated component matrix.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you see here something written here, plugins?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but before that let me take 5 more minutes, 2 more minutes, then I will wrap. I know the time and the next session is also due, and you also have the lunch. So before I go, let me tell you one thing, that there are sometimes people get scared of MOS because so many diagrams they have to make, so many circles, so many directions, so many things, this, that, etc. There is no need to do all these things. This is just a wastage of time. Okay, so what we need is that, let me go to that. Just one person confirm it. Plugins, is it visible? Plugins?
Yes, sir.
Right, click on plugins. Then pattern matrix builder, is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the next step is that click on this pattern matrix builder. Sorry, pattern matrix builder. Okay. Uh, is this new box visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
That part, that rotated component matrix that you have copied, I mean, just copy that from that part and just right click and paste it here. And click on create diagram. कितना देर लगा? How much time did it take?
A second, microsecond.
Is the diagram visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
Sir,
it's visible.
clearly visible, sir.
My earphone was not there. Okay, sorry. Is this diagram visible to all?
Yes, sir.
How much
Sir,
time did it take to, how
clear
much
for
time did it take to take this diagram?
hardly 1 minute.
Hardly 1 minute.
Few seconds, yeah.
Only few seconds. That's why I told you that you don't have to worry about the amos. Now the second thing we are doing, just give it this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there are certain things in the technology that we need to know, that we cannot write it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have to give some name. So suppose this is COC. Let me write it. So there are some ways we will click, then it will become red, blue, etc., etc. So some more advanced some more sessions, hands-on session we will do. So this time I'm working only as a facilitator. I'm not as a trainer. So just click on that and give it a name. So suppose I'm giving it a name COC. Then the second, let's give it a name DAS. The third, let's give it a name TRA. Fourth, whatever name you can give, TKH. The fifth, let's give it a name ENG. Okay. Now, just tell me one thing. Is there any independent or dependent variable in this model? Or these
No,
are only
sir.
5? No, because we are not saying one is independent, one is dependent. So what we will be doing is that nothing should be turned blue. So this is what has turned blue. So let's deactivate all. So that means we have taken all the data in consideration. Now we want to check whether there is validity or not. Convergent validity is there or not. We also need to check whether the model is fit or not. These two things we have need to show. So one person will also only say that yes, sir.
Yes,
No need to say sir. You can also say yes only. So plugin visible.
yes, sir.
Okay. Model fit measures.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Click on it. Acha, one thing I told you that you have to keep patience. That one thing is very important, that whenever we want to do anything with the amos, first of all, we have to save this diagram. So this save the current part diagram. Let's save it somewhere, desktop. You can give it any name. So Dr. Vishal Shukla, DVS. Okay, let's give it a name. And now you can run the analysis. So go to this analyze properties. Visible?
Yes, sir.
Right. Analyze property. Go to the output. We are not doing any mediation, moderation, etc. We just want to check the standardized values so that we can delete one of the item which is whose communality is less than 1. Only standardized estimate, nothing else. Okay. Now calculate the estimate. We are calculating. The moment it will turn red, and that's why I told you that you have to keep patience. The same philosophy in the La Masa brain, that you have to have patience, and you cannot walk on the path unless you become the path. The moment it turn red, click on it, and then come here standardized estimate and check whether if any of the value is less than 0.7, that means there is a problem, and delete that variable. Now we want to check whether this there is any problem of model fitness or not. So one person has to say yes, although this is monotonous and boring, but still,
Yes, sir. No,
okay. So
thank you.
plugins, model fit measures, click on it. You have to do nothing. Um, okay, we have turned it red. Okay, plugins. Wait, so we have saved the data. It has turned red. Hang तो नहीं हो गया? It has hanged. So wait. I should not have hanged this at this moment. So this is the problem of cracked version. So it's also I'm taking 5 minutes extra.
Sir, in the meantime, you can say how to get MOS.
Okay, that I will say. But just first, just let me go to that point where I was.